These two. We are called to work. We are created to work. Everyone say called. Everyone say created. All right, great. All right, so, and you can chew, you can talk with your mouths while chewing, right? So that's fine. I won't be offended. Not a snowflake. Okay, so we are called to work. Let's talk about that in the beginning. And I always love just random things I find on the internet. People call me, ask yourself, is this textable? I mean, you could have just messaged me, man. I didn't need a voicemail. I don't need to talk to you. Right? And so people go up on this, if you want to come up now, if you want your life to be an officer, there's snot coming down, you're crying, oh my God, I'll become an officer, right? And then the praise band is like on fire, and it's just like going crazy. So this language of calling is a part of Christian culture, especially Christian church culture, is it not? Right? So I've been called to be in Blackpink, right? Yeah, I mean, it's a calling. It's this kind of goal, this kind of endpoint that we want to be on in the future later on. Is that calling going to become a reality? Well, if I practice really hard, train, and get the choreo down, and a lot of plastic surgery, then maybe, right? Or it's my calling to be a male model, right? I love making stupid PowerPoints. Let's just be clear. I'm going to get that out to you right now. I love making stupid PowerPoints. Because I was an 8th grade U.S. history teacher. And that's the only way. That's the only way you get their attention with stupid PowerPoints. All right, so my calling, this language of calling. In the biblical language, in the language of the scriptures, especially the Gospels and in the New Testament, calling comes up quite a bit, the language of calling. And it's actually equated to vocation. Calling, if we do some math, is equal to vocation. In the language that is commonly found in the Gospels and elsewhere, like in Paul's letters to the various churches. So when we think about it for the purpose of our time now, calling is equal to vocation. Vocation, the word itself, for our Spanish speakers, when you take the word, you parse it out. There's voca. Sounds very similar to, in Espanol, voca. I got a C+. No, I didn't. I got a D+ in Spanish 3. So, voca, call out. So when we talk about our vocation, your vocation is something that you've been called out to do, right? And so we see the Latin vocation or voca instances, vocare. I just had to put this name, vocare. Porque bebo. I make these PowerPoints for my own amusement. I was having this conversation with Claire. I was like, I don't care if people laugh, so long as I laugh. So we see this, especially this language of calling is used in the Gospels, especially when Jesus is calling out his disciples. He's picking his team. You guys remember at lunchtime? It's dodgeball time. They picked the 2 6th graders, the 2 most athletic, most popular 6th graders to be the team captains of the team. And then everyone else lines up on the sideline of the dodgeball court, and what do the team captains do? Rock, paper, scissors. All right, you go first. They start picking their teams. Right? And I would be the last one picked because I was the scrawny Malaysian kid all the time. It's very sad, very sad. I'm still seeking therapy as a result of that. So, in the Gospels, when Jesus is seeking out, he's putting together his dodgeball team. He is calling out, by name, calling out his disciples to become a part of his, to effectively work for him, right? To do his Father's kingdom work. So, this is how we want to think about vocation. We want to think about vocation. And what is interesting is that when Jesus, he picks out his disciples, his band of brothers, his dream team, he doesn't pick out the theologians of the time. He doesn't pick out the rabbis of the time. He doesn't pick out the Harvard MBAs of the time. He picks out the blue-collar fishermen. He picks out the tax collectors. He picks out just your Joe Schmo plumber types, right? There's nothing very special or particular about the type of people that he chooses. He calls out them to be a part of his team. Now, if you're going to start a religious movement, you're going to want the best and the brightest. You're going to want the people who are trending and the hottest, the people who are the Kardashians of the world, right? Jesus, we have to take note of and observe who he calls out into his kingdom, his Father's work. Right? So it's average Joe Schmo plumbers. Now, that's just for the disciples. And that's just found, that language of calling is found in the Gospels. We go later on into the rest of the New Testament, the Apostle Paul, as he talks to Christians, or Christians as a part of the church in Corinth. What does he say? He says, each of you should continue to live in whatever situation the Lord has placed you, and remain as you were when God first called you. So Paul picks up on what Jesus said as a precedent, calling anyone and everyone to himself to be a part of his team, to do the kingdom work. And then Paul says, like, hey, yeah, you could be here at Tustin Ranch at the Lunch and Learn. You could be at the International. You could be at THQ. You could be working at Microsoft. You could be working at Target. Wherever God has placed you, remain as you were when he first called you, right? So vocation is not tied to a location. Your vocation is not tied to a geographic point. It's not tied to a certain set, a skill set. It's not tied to a certain responsibility or title or certifications or education. Vocation our vocation has to do with wherever, doing whatever God has called you to do. Right? So for all of us here, that wherever and that whatever is here in the Salvation Army, Orange County. And so the big picture point is, we are all called. And this was a reaction, a response to what the early church was doing. The early church thought that vocation only belonged to the pastors, to the priests. It only belonged to the nuns. And so those individuals who dedicated their lives 24/7 to the service of the church were the ones who had the red phone, the hotline, directly to God. And the early church reformers were like, no, hold on. We don't see that in the holy text, in the scripture. We don't see a case for that. Our connection to God is not limited by your job responsibility, or your job description, or your job title, or where your job is located. And so the response to that, the reaction to that, no, it's not just for priests, it's not just for nuns. Vocation, you could be a plumber, right? You could be a teacher. You could be staff at Tustin Ranch, right? We have to expand our understanding of vocation, of kingdom work. Martin Luther, based upon what the Apostle Peter will say, is that he talks about this priesthood of all believers, right? The priesthood of all believers. And that basically, we are all priests, whether we work in facilities or maintenance, whether we work in finance, whether we work for, at AES or Placentia, hospital, wherever we work, we are all priests. So it's like, oh, hey, Pastor Lewis, hey, Pastor Praise, hey, Pastor Van, hey, Pastor, mine is drawing a blank, Sandra and Allie. We're all pastors. We're all priests. And that's kind of weird to think about. And it might make you feel kind of uncomfortable. It's like, wait, all right. I got a rap sheet this long. There's no way I can be a pastor. Did you see my background check? There's no way I can be a pastor. There's no way I can have that title, that role upon my life. But through Jesus, we believe that Jesus makes a way for us to be a priesthood of all believers. So we are the priesthood. That's pretty metal. Yeah. A priesthood. Right? So we are all a part of this together. So there, and what I personally love about this, and it levels the playing field. In the Salvation Army, we're very vertical structured, like the org chart is very vertical, right? And we have ranks for crying out loud. But what this does here, what Luther suggests here, proposes here through Peter, is that the playing field is made level. We are all priests. We're all pastors. I'm not a better pastor than Shannon. Shannon is as much as a pastor as I am. Right? And so there is a sense of coming alongside rather than being lording myself over Shannon. Right? So what would our workplace environment look like? Would that change how we manage people? Would that change how we supervise people? Would that change? And if you're not a supervisor, maybe if you're in a lower position, would that change how you look up to or view your supervisors or managers? Could it possibly, right? How would that change the dynamic of the interpersonal relationships that you have with your coworkers while working here in Salvation Army context? So vocation, yeah. God chose a knucklehead like me. Right? And that's good news. That's good news. God chooses all of us to be a part of his kingdom work. And so knowing that, you have been chosen, that's kind of, whoa, I know Kung Fu. It's a good movie. All right, so, quick question to talk with their table mates here. What changes, or does anything change? I mean, we'll be honest. What changes when we understand our vocation as being called out or chosen by God? When we reframe our vocation in this way, does a light kind of go on in your head? Does something click? Just quick discussion with your table mates here. Just turn to your neighbor and say, yeah, nothing changes. And that's fine. That's I'm going to get seconds. That's fine. Take this time to get seconds. It's all good. But like have a quick discussion. Just like, does anything change when we view our work as being called out, being chosen? I'll give you 30 seconds. And then do the house. If you say yes, then say how. Ask how. Or why. Keep going. Just a slight twist in the question is, just personalize it. What happens when you, first of all, when we understand, now when you understand that vocation has to do with you being called out specifically by God to this time, to this place, to this whatever. Does anything change when you understand? All right, so any brave souls that want to just raise their hand, I'm going to give you a mic, and then you're going to blurt out what you shared. I heard. Alyssa, you're awesome.
Thank you. This is actually really close to my heart. So I learned this a long time ago of what happens if you feel you're called to a certain place or a certain something, and that it's not dependent on just your relationship with Christ. What happens when your gift or your opportunity to do that calling is taken from you? Or what if it's gone? So it can't be dependent on, I'm called to do this particular job, I'm called to lead worship, I'm called to be pastor. Because what happens if, like me, I had no voice for 3 years because of an illness. So what happened that 3 years? Was I not called any longer to be a worship pastor? You know what I mean? So I learned this a long time ago. God has called us to be in communion with Him at all times, and what we do aside of that is a totally different thing.
Yeah. I remember having a conversation with you a few weeks ago. Yeah. If your particular skill set or passion is like music, I'm going to be, the next Chris Tomlin or whatever. But then, like in Alyssa's case, she literally lost her voice to become the next Brooke Ligerfelter. What is that her name? Ligerfelter? Whatever. The next female worship vocalist. So what she has to reframe, she's not letting go of that passion or desire, but maybe she's tabling it for a season or for a time. But she does have to reframe kind of her perspective and her posture towards what she does for work. The same fire is still there, but the context, it's just going to be different. Right? The expression of that's going to be different. Who else? Raise your hand if you want to share. Like how viewing vocation through this lens kind of changes how you actually approach, or maybe not has yet changed, but has begun the kind of the work of change. Just praise.
I think for me, it adds a component of feeling like it's an honor and a privilege to do what I'm here to do, because I'm called by God, because I'm chosen by God to be here to do what I'm doing, regardless of the title or the responsibilities itself. So I always thought like, oh, calling has to be this like grand voice that I hear, knowing exactly what God wants me to do with my life. But it is in the sense like knowing that He's placed me where I'm at now, at every part of my life, to be there and to do what I'm there for. And if I'm doing it with a purpose, I think it adds a lot more meaning and purpose to what you do, knowing that God has placed you there.
Yeah, this idea of meaning and purpose is huge, right? Because sometimes when we're doing our work, it's Tuesday, 4:33 p.m., and we're like, there is no meaning. What is life? Kill me that, right? When we feel like the meaningless and the purpose just kind of just drain out of our veins into the drainage system, right? But as Praise reminded us that if we remember, if we let our minds and our hearts go back to this place of remembering, acknowledging, maybe God in His infinite wisdom and His love placed us here at the Salvation Army Tustin Ranch or Salvation Army Orange County for a reason. All of a sudden we get a big picture view of what's going on rather than just focus on, oh my gosh, that meeting was a train wreck this morning, right? So that's the kind of perspective giving that can be ascertained if we have this kind of big picture understanding or a widened definition of vocation. All right, great. So, any final thoughts or questions on being called to work? Don't be shy. No stupid answers to stupid people. Right? I always say that. I don't even know if that makes sense. It just sounds funny to me in my head. But anyways. Okay, we're gonna go. Second one, we are created to work. So we are called to work, we are created to work. And so we're going to go back to the biblical text. We're going back into Genesis. I'm going to do some rapid fire, speed run reading here. It says, the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. Now the Lord God had planted a garden in the east in Eden, and there He put the man He had formed. The Lord God made all kinds of trees grow out of the ground, trees that were pleasing to the eye and good for food. In the middle of the garden were the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Then we're going to skip to verse 15. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. Job description, job responsibility, right? So, for the very first book, in the sacred text that we consider holy, sacred, spiritual, right? Truth-filled. It's right there. Like there's work to be done. It's built in to the blueprint of what it means to be human. Work it, take care of it. I just got to answer. Totally not gonna. Always just weird. Like the lions hanging out with lambs and turkeys. It's like that's a turkey sandwich right there, man. So God created, continues just in Genesis 1. So God created mankind in His own image. In the image of God, He created them. Male and female, He created. Listen to the language there, right? We believe that we were created in God's image. And a part of God's image, as shown to us in this verse right here, a part of who God is being created. creator or creating. He does the work of creating. So as a worker, or part of his work, his job description is you are a creator. Content. He's the OG content creator, right? So, if we are made in the image of the OG content creator, then a part of our job description is to create as well. And this is a divine thing. This is a spiritual thing. This is a theology word. This is a theological thing, right? That whatever job position that you have here in the Salvation Army, you have to know that you've already been wired by a God that we believe in to create. Now, practically speaking, typically like the CEO is like the visionary. They're going to lead the charge. This is our vision for the Salvation Army. Let's see, blah, 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 blah. This, that, other thing. And your position may be more like a maintaining kind of position. That's fine. But even in maintenance, in maintaining a program, you still need to create, you still need to troubleshoot, you still need to problem solve, right? And so let me know that there is language in the Bible that speaks to this divine kind of genetic code of us being creators because, well, God is a creator, right? So we were created in his own image. Verse 20, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful, increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it. Okay, this sounds like a job description to me. Rule over the fish in the sea and birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground. So I was like, whoa, we got the email. I said, God said with the babies, and I saw ... Stupid, I know, stupid PowerPoints. So the workplace environment. The Garden of Eden is Adam and Eve's office. That's where they work. In the Garden of Eden, the copy machine in the Garden of Eden, in this workspace, never breaks, never runs out of toner, is never finicky. The office environment in the Garden of Eden there's no gossip. There's no backbiting. There's no like, oh my gosh, that position isn't open. Now I'm gonna do everything I can to get into that position. Right? In the Garden of Eden, the workplace environment, none of that exists because it's one of abundance. Right? We just read that everything is provided for. So there is no need to kind of step over people in order to get yourself up to the top. In the Garden of Eden, this workplace environment, it is one of abundance. And the opposite of that is a scarcity or absence. How do we react? How do we normally function when we work or we just live from a position or from a place of scarcity? Right? We're very close-fisted. What's mine is mine, survival of the fittest. I don't care about you, I don't care about me, myself. Right? So, as managers or supervisors, as people with influence as thermostats, we have the power to change the temperature, right? Are we going to change the temperature that we're going to be ice cold? Or are we going to, bump it up a little to be warm and inviting, comfortable, right? That's the difference between creating a workplace environment that is from a place of abundance versus a one of scarcity and absence. How are we changing and creating an atmosphere that creates enjoyment and fulfillment? Like, okay, let's talk about the jobs of Adam and Eve. Like, God basically told them, hey, you guys are going to be gardeners in the Garden of Eden. God basically said, hey, you guys are basically zookeepers. Okay? You guys are going to basically be the janitor here in the Garden of Eden. Now, from our point of view, like, these are blue-collar, menial, jobs. Not white-collar, not where you need a high degree or whatever. But in a workplace where abundance is at the forefront, right? And abundance is all around and undeniable. Even a job like being the zookeeper, taking care of I have to imagine all the animals, they pooped, right? I think so. Or being the gardener, or being the caretaker of Eden. Even these, what we would consider menial jobs, brought fulfillment, purpose, and significance. Because in an environment of abundance, there is no competition. The playing field is level because we all got what we all need. And so we're just doing our part to take care of God's garden, right? And so all work then is important, enjoyable, and fulfilling. How do we, as managers or supervisors, make sure to let everyone under our care know that their work is meaningful, their work is that they can find joy in what they do, right? That their work is significant, has impact. That everyone is a part of the team. Everyone matters. It's easier to do that in an atmosphere, in a context, an environment of abundance rather than one of scarcity. If we're operating from scarcity, even the managers or supervisors like, hey, I got to do whatever it takes to make myself look good. Right? So here's where they went wrong with work. They think, hey, babe, I got this great idea. Hold my beer, right? So if you've been to Sunday school long enough, like Adam and Eve, they think they can kind of outsmart, outthink, CEO God, and so they take the Bible, they disobey God, and there's consequences to their actions, right? So let's read this. It says, to Adam he said, because you listened to your wife and ate fruit from the tree about which I commanded you must not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil you will eat fruit from it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food until you return to the ground. Since from it you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you return. Man, that sounds so uplifting. I want that on the coffee mug, right? Where was the hope and the purpose and the sunny days and the warm and fuzziness of the abundance, right? Before the fall. Now, after the fall, after they bite on the fruit, man, it's pretty bleak, right? They got to work, they got to sweat, they're going to BO, they have to kill an animal now. Blood needs to be shed to cover over their nakedness, because now nakedness is a thing to be ashamed of. This is what happened from a place of scarcity, right? And if for dust you are, and to dust you will return. Where's the hope in that? Man, that's pretty bleak. It's pretty grim. Wrong way. So absence and scarcity, that's what happened. That's what resulted from these workers, from these employees, thinking, I can make a better CEO. God's original plan for work is working in abundance, not absence, not scarcity. And so what happens, or what changes, when you view your work from a place of abundance? Or you view your place of work from a place of scarcity or absence? Does that change anything? How you view work, how you approach coming to work, or your job responsibilities, or your job description, or your co-workers, or your managers. Does anything change? Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you 30 seconds. Talk amongst yourselves, even the table mates. Ten seconds. What do you guys think? Anyone like to share what they shared, what the table made, or two? Does anything change in how you, or your attitude, your posture, when you view your workplace from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. Anything change? If not, that's fine. If something does, and you want to share it. Okay.
What do you mean view it from abundant? Like, what does that mean? Give an example.
Yeah. So this is no, it's an honest, fair question. So when we understand that God has given us all that we. So in Eden, Adam and Eve were given all that they needed to do their job, to do the gardening job, to do the caretaking job, to do the janitor job, whatever. They were given all that they needed. But in their humanity, they thought, well, I think we can up the ante a little bit here. And so that's when they overstepped their bounds. The consequences of that was all that they needed was no longer readily available to them, right? And so if we kind of have this Eden mindset, being in the garden mindset, and we superimpose that upon, Hospitality House, or Tustin Ranch, or Santa Ana, or wherever, yeah, how would that change anything? Like how I supervise people, do you think? Or lead people?
I'm a very little.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
Like, well, what if it's reality that you don't have the abundance of...
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Me viewing like all these people that are here doing their job that don't exist.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, in the Salvation Army, money doesn't grow on trees, or, I guess that's debatable, depending on which department you talk to, right? But yeah, there are times where all of us we hit a wall because there's a limit, there's a scarcity of resources and personnel. And so maybe the question is, how do we respond to that? How does our response to a lack change? Yeah. Sorry, that was my fault for not wording the question in a more clear way. Yeah.
I thought as we are in abundance or scarcity. So if I don't have any money, I have to save well, or something came up, and I'm just stressed out all the time.
You're dreading going to work, but if you have the abundance and you've been prudent and you have enough sleep and you have the team around you that you built, that's exciting. And you feel like this is a gift to me to have this job, and I'm going to give you this job.
Yeah, it does. That is probably where I would have landed. Yes, God has given us all. He's given the team members that we need. He's given us the money that we need. He's given everything that we need to get the job done. It's like in the Old Testament, there's a story where everyone's hungry. Oh gosh, we want bread or manna, and so God gives them. He's like, only collect what you're gonna eat for the day, right? Just get enough for what you need. And so and so people in a scarcity mindset, like, I'm going to get more than I need, and then surplus. And what happens? It evaporates. Right? But for those of us with an abundance mindset, and then actually maybe a faith-filled mindset, trusting that God has given us all that we need to get the job done. We grab enough, get 3 pieces of manna, because there's 3 meals in the day, and that's it. Because I know that God has got my back, and there'll be 3 more pieces of manna tomorrow. So yeah, that makes it a lot easier, at least in my opinion. Maybe a listen's like, oh yeah. It sucks that the funding didn't come through, but I believe in a big God, and I believe that God's gonna do His thing. And so yeah, I'll go to work. I'll continue going to work. It doesn't mean that work, I'm gonna get warm and fuzzy. Yeah, rainbows and ice cream, everybody, every day. But at least, again, it provides perspective. Right? That's a good question, thank you. That will help me. It's good feedback for me to I need to flesh it out a bit more to make it clearer. Any other thoughts? Or, any other thoughts? Oh.
So those of us who have smaller programs, and we live in scarcity.
Sure.
That's just the nature of the gig, it's the nature of
job, but like the posture, and it's something that we've been talking about for a while now. Just like, what is our postures? Are we going to operate out of scarcity mentality, the anxiety, the depression, and the shame and the guilt that comes because we can't help those that we want to help? Or do we try to be humble and try to just keep a peace about the situations that we come across with? And even like with one another, like how do we operate out of a posture of humility and trust that it may not be like work in abundance, but like the peace is abundant.
Yes, that's good. That's a great distinction. Yeah. The status or the condition of the heart, peace in the heart, is flowing, is overflowing. And so it's much better to show up to work with an abundance in the heart. And that makes it makes it easier to deal with the scarcity in the office, or in the funding, or in the budget, when there is an abundance of peace in your heart. Right? So that's a great point. Great point. I'm going to include that in the next stupid PowerPoint that I make. It's a great point. I will credit you too. I will credit you. Yes. You'll get your Spotify royalty of 0.0001 cent. Yeah, it's probably worse than that, probably right now. So, just to wrap it up at the point, we are called to work. We are created to work. And what Bible verses? If you want these, I can email it to you. Because we got to end on time, guys. We got to end on time. Let's be real. Taking it to work, maybe some practical things. Work hard, be awesome. There are biblical texts to kind of support this idea of it's not being perfectionists in our work, but offering our best. And sometimes our best is not going to be perfection, and that's fine. That's fine. But we go back to the condition of the heart. What we offer, is it coming from a heart that is rightly oriented to God? It's not always going to be fun and games. We talked about this before. Not going to be ice cream and rainbows all the time. I love the dog. I'm like, poor dog. Poor dog. It looks like it hurts, but it's so funny. So the reality of life is, on this side of Jesus' second coming, right? There will continue to be Mondays. And the general consensus, 4 out of 5 scientists will say that Mondays suck, right? So that's just the reality of life. But again, the posture of the heart. How do we deal with those sucky Mondays? We can deal from a place with a heart that's overflowing with the shalom, the Bible says, the shalom, the wholeness, the peace, the presence, the power of God. Or we can operate from a place of scarcity. Oh my gosh, this Monday is terrible. What do I need to do to get through it? Right? There's a big difference in attitude and approach. Find rest in your work, right? We see this pattern. We see this pattern in Jesus' ministry and in his when he was working for his Father in the family business, right? He'd be teaching, preaching, healing people, and then all of a sudden, like a ninja, he throws a smoke bomb, and he's like off alone on a mountainside praying by himself. It's weird. I love it. He made it a habit of putting into the rhythm of work breaks. So whether it's like, if it's your average Tuesday, you have your lunch, and then maybe at 4 o'clock you go, all right, I'm going to do a 50-minute walk in the parking lot. Just like break, calibrate. And here's the thing, you got to be, Jesus, we seem to see that Jesus was very, he protected his breaks, his private time. He was like vigilant about it, right? And so that same amount of vigilance, I think, it needs to happen on our part. It's like, we can't, it's like, one more email. It's like, protect your breaks, protect your Sabbaths. 6 days, God's working, creating. 7th day, take a rest. So you got to protect and preserve your rest, your breaks. Pray for others. Pray for others. Small furry woodland creatures, so cute. So, Another way to reset a spiritual discipline to kind of get you through the day, to reorient the heart, to kind of break the monotony, sometimes monotony of work, is just to pray. And to up the ante a little bit, not pray for yourself, but to pray for others. Pray for that coworker who you just had a dumpster fire meeting with in the morning, right? All right, so any final thoughts, questions, comments? I'm done. Any fun? I'm going to hand over to Praise, because she's going to tell you to scan some QR codes so that we can track you. And because Bill Gates is not doing that anymore, we are too. All right. All right. If you guys want those Bible verses, just hit me up. Otherwise, thanks everybody.
That's probably the most funniest slide presentation that I've ever seen.
So today we talked about a theology of work, about how God has called us and created us to work.